My name is Steve. Welcome to my shop. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I got no excuses. I've been getting shop time in, but I just haven't been shooting videos. I've been grinding some of my precision ground stones. We've had decent sales on them in November and the beginning of December, so that kept up a little bit of my shop time. But I've got a lot of new stuff to show you. And so I will be probably producing a Shark Bits episode soon after this one airs, because I got a lot to go over. I got some new projects I'm starting on. But this project is for a viewer, a fellow YouTuber. His name is Kimber Zellick. And he has a Pratt & Whitney Model B lathe that he has been working on restoring. Kimber retired a year or two ago and has picked up machining as a hobby for his retirement. He started out with a mini lathe and was learning on that, and now he's got this Pratt & Whitney, which needed a new cross slide screw. And he got it all made. He put it together. Here it is here. Whoop. Here it is here. And he doesn't have a mill or a decent way of cutting the keyways. So I offered to cut the keyways for him, and he sent it to me. Along with it, he also sent a brass punch that he made on his lathe, 3/8 pin punch. It's got a stamp KZ Kimber Zellick, and I've got to tell you, it's something I don't have. I do not have a brass punch, so I really appreciate that. He also sent me a handful of stickers and a few other odds and ends, a little keychain that he had cast. And so let's go over to the mill and I'll show you how I cut these keyways. Yeah, I'm setting up my vise to mount the shaft in that I'm going to be cutting the keyways in. And what I like to do, I've got a very basic DRO on this. I can't do half functions or anything like that. All I do is get measurements. So what I do, I'm going to zero this jaw on the y-axis. So let's start it up. There it goes. Kicked off. I'm going to zero it, back off on it, and just verify it. Do it one more time. There it goes off. 1,000th. I'm going to try it again I like to get it twice in a row. Perfect. Okay, that's zeroed. Now I'll crank it up. Now the pilot on this edge finder is 200 thousandths. So in order to get over the center of this edge, I will move it back 100 thousandths. Okay, I'm at 100 thousandths and I'll re-zero it there. So now I'm set to be able to center up on the shaft. When I'm using small milling cutters like I am on this particular job, I like to use this ER16 collet adapter. It's an R8 collet adapter to the ER16. Now I'm going to put the milling cutter in. I'm using a 3/32 milling cutter. And I'm going to chuck it up fairly short, because it's got a fair amount of deflection, and because of the small diameter of it, there'll be a fair amount of deflection in it. Shoot. There it goes. So I'm going to shorten up on it as much as I can. There we go. Okay, I'm all set to put the shaft in the vise now. I've got the y-axis set at 0 on my DRO. I'm centered over the edge of the vise. I measured the diameter of the shaft, and half the diameter is 0.246. So I'm going to come over 246, actually 245 and a half. Okay, I'm right on the money. Now I'm going to lock the y-axis, because all of my cuts will be done off of that center. Using this shoulder on the shaft as my datum, and I've got my cutter set off the datum, and now I'm going to zero my x-axis, and I'll touch down there and start cutting the keyway. The keyway is 1 inch long, so I've got to got 1 inch minus 0.0938. I'll make it 0.094. I'll be milling the slot to 0.906 will be the end of the cut. So I'm going to touch down. Okay, I just touched down. Just at the full width of the cutter. Just going to kind of score it. I'll go out to 0.906. Okay, that's it. 0.906. Go back to 0. Okay, I'm back at 0. And now I'm going to set my z-axis at 0, and I'll be cutting the depth of half the thickness of the keyway. So we'll mic that up and we'll mark that. In fact, I'm going to mark right on my vise. I got 0.906 as my end mark. Okay, the keyway that I've got mics 135. Let me just double check that with my precision mic here. Well, it's more like 0.137. It's probably supposed to be 9/64, which is 0.140. But so I need to go half that depth. So I'm at 0.137. Got to half that. I'm going to go 70 thousandths deep on that. So I plan on going 70 thousandths. I'm going to mark that on my vise so I don't forget it. And we're all set to start cutting a keyway. Okay, let's start to cut the groove. Since its tool bit is so small, I'm only going to cut 10 thousandths at a time. Go pretty slow. Keep the deflection of the cutter to a bare minimum. I'm at 906. Now, normally I would cut back the same way that or in the opposite direction. However, because this cutter is so small and there's a lot of play in it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pressure off because there's some deflection in the cutter. And if I was to go back the other way, I would be cutting, in effect, climb milling where I just did conventional milling and potentially make this slot too wide. So I just backed the tool bit off, the cutter off, and I'm going to go back to my 0 point. Okay, I'm back at 0. Okay, that's 0 on Z. I've already done 10 thousandths. So now I'm going to take it down to 20. I'm just going 10 thousandths at a time. Okay, I'm at 906. Back off my cutter. Go back up to 0. Going to use a little bit of cutting oil on it now that I'm getting a little deeper. And now I'm going to go to 30 thousandths. And I'll continue this routine until I get down to my final cut, and I'll bring you back at that time. Okay, this is my final cut. That's it. Crank it up out of the way. And double check the depth on it. It's got it cranked out of the way. I'm going to double check the depth on it. That's good. I don't have much of a burr on it at all. It's going to take my little triangular burr, or triangular deburring tool, and just go over it. That feels pretty good. I'll take and check the keyway. Perfect fit. Just double check the depth of the slot. $69 thousandths. Perfect. Can't get much closer than that. All right, now we'll set up to cut the next keyway. It is, the dimension that I have is from this end of the keyway right here is where the next one starts. So I will crank it down there and we'll get ready to cut the next keyway. Okay, there's a shot of the finished key slot. And this is the short key, which will go in the next one. I don't know whether there's two of them that go in there or whether there's a longer one. But that's the one I was given the sample of, and it fits perfectly in there. Okay, I'm all set up to do the next slot, and this keyway slot is only a ½ inch long. And so I will be, it was 4½ inches from the other one, so I'm going to be going to 4.906 on my DRO. My starting point is 4.5, 4.5. Okay, that's 0 on my Z, so I'm going to go 10 thousandths, just like I did on the other one. A little oil on it. 4.906. Raise my cutter. Go back to 4.5. Down another 10 to 20 thousandths, and continue the same routine until I get down to full depth. So I'll bring you back when I'm ready to finish it up. And this should be the final cut. 70 thousandths deep. Perfect. I'll pull it off of there and just measure the depth to make sure that I've got enough depth on it. Whoops. Okay, that one, that's what I set it at. I'm right at 70 thousandths. So that's within a thousandth of half the thickness of the... Perfect. All right, now I've got to set up to cut a keyway down at the other end. And since this is already centered on the shaft, I think I'm going to just put a jack under that to support it, and I'm going to cut it right where it is. I'm not going to reset it in the vise. It doesn't take that much cutting pressure. I think that'll work just fine. So I'll bring you back when I get that set up. Okay, this final keyway is another 1/2 inch keyway, and it's 8.4 inches from the beginning of the first keyway that I started. So I moved down 8.4 inches to locate the key, and then I will go to 8.806 will be the final number. And I actually have written that down on the vise so that I don't lose it. There it is there, 8.806 is my last measure was 4.906. So rather than change my setup here, since everything is accurate, there's very little tool pressure, I'm going to take and put a jack up underneath of that to hold the position, and I'll bring you back when I get that set up. Okay, here's my setup. This is my Starrett S190 jack. And I have actually extension bases for it. However, it ended up that it was right over the T-slot. So I used just a 1-2-3 block to shore it up, and that bridges the T-slot. And I adjusted it up just to put a little bit of tension underneath the shaft. Now I'll come down, I'll touch off my end mill, I'll touch off my cutter and re-zero the Z-axis. Okay, I just touched off. I'm going to re-zero my Z-axis. On the touch off, I'm going to go ½ inch. I'm going to 8.806 on my readout. According to the drawing and what I was told by the owner, it's going to actually take that right into the relief that was cut for cutting the threads. Back to 8.4, or yeah, 8.4, which is actually my 0 point. And I'll go down 10 thousandths. It's the same routine that I went through on the rest of them. I'll bring you back when I finish it up. And this is my final cut. Just deburr it. Perfect. Well, that's going to wrap up this video on the cross slide shaft for Kimber Zellick's Pratt & Whitney Model B lathe. It was a fun little project, and as I mentioned in the introduction, I've got some more videos in the can we'll be working on. I'll be finishing up the manual knurler for my son, who's a bicycle mechanic, and they use a knurler to knurl the handlebars, I believe, to make them fit a little bit tighter in the neck of a bicycle if they're worn or whatever. I'm not exactly sure why he needs it, but I'm building one for him, and that will be probably my next video. As I mentioned, I'm going to be putting a Shark Bits video together because I got a lot of projects coming up. I got some materials, I got some tools that I'll be sharing with you. And also I want to thank all of my subscribers. I am just a couple short of hitting 4,000, which I think is absolutely great. I know there's machinists out there that have got 10, 20, 30, 100, 500,000 subscribers. But for me in my little shop, 4,000 is great. My next milestone will be 5,000, which we'll do a big giveaway. So I know that many of my viewers are actually, and commenters, are not subscribers. So give this old man something to smile about and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up on the video if you like it. Comment. I try and respond to all the comments. I'll see you in the next video.